and welcome here to TalkFCB, and welcome back to the channel here today, guys, for Barça news coming your way here on Sunday. I hope you're all doing very, very well indeed, because today we're going to be talking about the likes of Pedri and Lamine Yamal, who were absolutely wonderful for Spain last night, and what it could mean for them under Hansi Flick. We've also got some new words from Ilkay Gundogan, and again, it's centred around Barca's mentality, which I think is particularly important to mention right now. And we also have as well new developments on Barca returning to the 1-for-1 rule in La Liga, along with a brand new sighting of the elusive Hansi Flick himself. It is all coming your way, so let's do this. And why don't we kick off today's video, guys, by talking about some big performances from last night there as Spain played their final game before the Euros. It was a comprehensive victory over Northern Ireland, but I have to talk here about two wonderful performances in that game. First of all, it's all about Pedri. He scored 2 of Spain's 5 goals, and 2 very different kind of goals as well. One of them was from outside of the area, wonderful strike towards goal, right in the bottom corner. Another one was latching on to a Nico Williams cross, arriving into the area at the perfect moment and slotting it home for his second of the game. And I think with Pedri, he's got this in his locker. He's got that ability to score goals, to be very decisive in the final third. We don't always get to see it. You know, that's a part of his game that we've got to find a way to see a lot more and more consistently, because we've seen him before score wonder goals from outside of the box there. When he takes on the shot, he's got really good technique, and inside the box as well, he can certainly time runs, he can certainly finish off chances there and play a big part in front of goal. And I thought his position for Spain was really intriguing, because yesterday he was so advanced in the field there. It was a number 10, maybe even higher in the field, because actually he only attempted 11 passes in the hour that he was on the field for Spain, which I think is really interesting when you think about it there. With Flick, he does like to play with a number 10 in his system. He does like to have a midfielder there that is more advanced. Can Pedri play that role? I think he's certainly got the characteristics for it. And I think what we've seen with Barca is, if you can have players from midfield chipping in with goals there, helping out, it can really elevate you as a team. They can pop up with big goals at big moments. And Pedri, like I say, he has that in his locker. But what about Lamine Yamal? Now, this for me was the absolute star of the game. And this for me could potentially be one of the stars of the entire European Championships. Got 2 assists to his name last night, and he was just wonderful. There was nobody that could get anywhere near him. They couldn't predict what he was going to do next. 5 out of 6 dribbles completed last night, the most of any player on the field. 5 key passes to his name. He created more chances than anybody else as well. But also with Yamal, it was brilliant going forward. It was scintillating stuff on the attacking side, but he was still working really hard. He made 4 recoveries, 4 tackles in last night's game, putting in a real shift. And what I found was absolutely extraordinary was the man behind him at right back, Jesus Navas, is just 22 years older than Lamine Yamal. I mean, that's extraordinary. 22 years older than him, and it just makes you realise even more so here the amazing things that Yamal is doing at such a young age. And I cannot wait to watch him this summer at the Euros. And I also can't deny, guys, that it was quite exciting, quite good fun to watch Yamal on the right-hand side for Spain, and on the left, like I say, Nico Williams is very good as well. He provided that assist to Pedri. He was a big threat on the left, and you have the 2 of them there. They are very good players to have on both sides of your attack. You can see what Barca are thinking. You can see what Barca and Hansi Flick are envisaging. But let's wait and see if Barca can find themselves in a position this summer with the financial situation to make that a reality. Nico's top quality, but can we get him? Somebody else, though, that I would like to discuss in today's video is none other than Ilkay Gundogan, who of course right now is away with Germany as well ahead of the Euros. And quite often when players are away there with their countries, they're interviewed, lots of journalists get in and around them, and you can get some interesting quotes. You can get there maybe a bit more depth than you usually would, but with Gundogan, you know, he always wears his heart on his sleeve. You always know what he is thinking. And he was actually asked there by a journalist, you caused quite a storm with your words after the game against PSG when Barca were knocked out of the Champions League, when Araujo, of course was sent off when Araujo himself responded to what Gundogan had to say. He tried to defend himself when Gundogan basically said, look, we've made big mistakes on the night. But Gundogan, in response there to those words in that situation, said, if you listen to the whole interview, I talked about us as a team, not just about Ronald. He said, I also made mistakes myself, and I admit it when I make them. Because if you are not prepared to admit to your mistakes, then you cannot wish to succeed. And I think that's really interesting again from Gundogan, not necessarily doubling down, but he's ultimately saying, look, I talked about the whole team. We all make mistakes at times, and when you do make them, you've got to own them. You've got to have ownership. You've got to have responsibility there for what you are doing. And I think we're going to see a lot more of this kind of mentality under Hansi Flick, of course, a fellow German, and particularly internally at the club. If you want to win at the very highest level, you need honesty. And you need to be tough at times. You need to get down to the real issues in this team, because everything can't be rosy all the time. That's not how the best teams operate. At times, you've got to point things out. You've got to be honest. You've got to be open. You've got to highlight mistakes as they happen in order to be able to rectify them. And that again is something that I hope Flick can bring to the dressing room. A bit of an edge and a bit of conviction in his ideas. And speaking there about ideas from coaches, Gundogan was actually asked about Jude Bellingham's praise for Ancelotti after Real Madrid won the Champions League there, allowing his team to have freedom. And Gundogan there was asked by the journalist, do you prefer to have some tactical freedom in the way that you go out there on the field and play, or do you prefer a clear tactical plan? And Gundogan there straight away responded, well, I am Team Pep, which means sticking to a clear plan. But the journalist came back to him and said, but Real Madrid have just won the Champions League under Ancelotti and beating Pep City along the way. So, has your opinion changed any? But I thought Gundogan's answer was really interesting there, because he said football is a game of moments. He said Man City were more dominant against Real Madrid, but in the end Madrid made the right decisions in crucial moments of the game. And he did actually give Real Madrid some praise here, Gundogan. He said, what I like about Madrid is that the team never panics. Even when they're 1-0 down in the 85th minute of the game, they do not panic. This is a strong mental quality that can defeat any good plan. So Gundogan there saying, look, I am Team Pep. That's the way that I like to play. I like to have a clear plan. I like to play football to be dominant in terms of the style of play. But he also highlighted there the mentality of Madrid in terms there of not panicking. Even when things don't go your way, even when things have happened on the field, you rise above that and you always maintain that belief. And ever since Gundogan arrived at Barça, I've seen him as a player there who's actively trying to change the feeling inside of the club. He's coming from Man City, where, of course, he achieved everything under Pep there. He witnessed phenomenal coaching, and he was in a dressing room of real serial winners, and he wants to come into Barça and to have everybody buy into that mindset there, to be locked in, to take responsibility for your actions there on the field, and ultimately, even in difficult moments, on the biggest of stages, stay strong, stay firm and together. And that, again, is what we have to see under Hansi Flick. The team must be ready for the challenges to come. And I do have to say, guys, when you're speaking there about challenges, well, there's no bigger challenge for anyone, anywhere, than Javier Tebas and La Liga and their unbelievable rules and restrictions. And one of those big challenges this summer, it always is for Barça, it is the 1-for-1 rule. We've spoken about it recently on the channel, how important it is that we return to that rule this summer for the transfer window ahead of us. And I do have to say, guys, as we're waiting for a decision, which could come next week, we may hear more official words on that 1-for-1 rule return next week, so bear that in mind right now. You do hear lots of doom reporting for Barça. Lots of outlets like to come out and say, oh, things aren't looking good, maybe Barca won't get there, maybe it won't happen. I would definitely just steer clear of all of that right now, because from what we're hearing, things are very much on the right track. And even today, Tebas himself has been speaking, and that's what I want to talk about here, because he actually said today, on Barca returning to that 1-for-1 rule, he said it won't be as difficult for them as it has been in previous summers for Barca. He said they have to resolve a few things, or maybe even a sale, but we have received word that everything is going well. And he actually said, I hope and wish that Barca gets back on track and that they do return to the one-for-one rule. Now, of course, with Tebas, you can't really look too much into his words. That would be dangerous. You can't take everything he says as gospel, because a lot of the time, you never know what he's thinking. Tomorrow he might come out and say Barca are going to be relegated from La Liga. You don't know what's going to be coming with him, but I would just say this. I think things are going well. I think certainly the word is right now. As Tebas says there, it's not as hard as previous years. You know, we're starting to come to the end, I feel, of this horrible cycle in terms of the financial difficulties we've been through. Of course, the levers that have been pulled, the ramifications from the Bartomeu time. We seem to be coming towards the end of that now, and that is exactly what we need ahead of what is going to be a huge summer with this man in charge. And I've got to say, guys, we haven't seen too much of Hansi Flick, but look at him right there. That, for me, is a powerful image right here this evening, and that is him today with Joan Laporta, and the two of them there were in attendance for the Handball Champions League final, of which Barca there are a part of, and it's actually in Cologne, Flick's native Germany, so he's not in Barcelona right now, but he has been spending some time today with Laporta, which is good to see, and it is said that next week Flick will be in Barcelona, he'll be back in the city, and we might hear a few more things from him perhaps. Obviously right now he's kept a very low profile, he's keeping very clear of the media. These are all good things. He's doing the right things right here early in the job at Barcelona. Don't get surrounded early on with the hype, with the headlines, with the pressure. He's steering clear of all of that. But next week, our new coach will be in Barcelona, and I'm excited for these days and weeks to come, guys. Very important that we get back to that one-for-one rule, and then we can get down to business. So just let me know in the comments down below here today, what do you make particularly of those words from Ilkay Gundogan there, talking about Barca's mentality, talking about what Real Madrid do well. What do you make of that? And looking at Pedri's positioning for Spain last night, would you like to see him take up a similar kind of role in Flick's Barca team? Let me know your thoughts down below. I'll be back on the channel with you all very soon indeed. Thank you though for your great support, and enjoy the rest of your day. I will catch you soon, but until next time, as always, Visca El Barça.